y'all, it matters so much who we're talking about.
Yeah.
So my K-12 background is mostly secondary social studies. I worked mostly with 11th graders studying US history. When I think about if I were in that boat, I actually think I could come up with all kinds of stuff, right? We'd be doing lots of web crawls. We'd be doing all kinds of document analysis and working with primary sources. We'd be doing history at a level that 11th graders should be doing. And I could facilitate that sitting where I am in my backyard here. If I think about kindergarten, first grade, second grade, if I think about folks who are learning how to read, imagine assigning them something where it's all based on already achieved literacies, being able to navigate the website. We have a lot of students, the first time they're going to interact with a computer is when they sit down with us in our school on the computer. We have students that aren't really savvy enough at their letter recognition to type in whatever sort of assigned password they have or whatever assigned username they have, kinds of stuff. And we have students who are struggling to log on. So to me, the answer to this question really, really depends on level of access to the internet, level of access to power, being able to rely on those home infrastructural kinds of things in order to be able to deliver it. And then a lot of those things around those early literacy moments, and also an understanding or sort of an internalization of what it means to be in school. So I have my aunt teaches in St. Louis. And my aunt has the trouble right now with her first graders that they're raising their hands to ask to go to the bathroom in a Zoom, all virtual, all Zoom environment, right? And so maybe credit to their kindergarten teacher that they've inculcated, right? When you have to go pee, this is what you do, right? But how on earth am I facilitating that as a first grade teacher where so many of those school norms, so much of that socialization, so many of those early literacy experiences that most of our internet-based technologies rely on, if that's what I'm building, for me, that can't happen remotely. Those really, really early moments have so much impact later in terms of school outcomes. And so when I think about concentrated poverty, when I think about students who are at the risk, right, of their home losing power because of delinquent payments, because of people being laid off, because of COVID-19, so on and so forth, to me, the greatest impact is probably going to be felt at those earliest grades. And then what I get really worried about is how long that lingers. So if one of the things that we know, particularly about working class urban students of color, disproportionately are going to lag behind white middle class and upper class peers, all of those kinds of metrics that we have are going to be exacerbated even more because of this crisis, because of this early learning loss. To me, this is something that's going to be with us for 18, 20 years to come.
Each thing was going to be the first thing out of my mouth as well. On top of that, children with learning disabilities, children on the autism spectrum, children with English as a second language, all of those additional complications of trying to do this without face-to-face interaction, it really adds to the dilemma. Part of like kindergarten, first grade is learning what it is to be a student. You know, there's nothing natural about coming in and sitting at a desk. You learn to have a class schedule and what that means, and you can't just eat anytime you want to, and that's all a learning process. It's not just learning to read and write. There's a socialization, an educational socialization process, and this is just a very different one. It is one, but it's a very different one, and if they're going to go back to in-class education after a year, you know, hopefully, they've lost a whole year of that. This is going to have a spillover effect down the line. Now, let's change it just a little bit. What about the schools that don't go completely remote? I've got one grandson that's all in person with the masks, with the plastic shields. That's a different impact of COVID as well, and it's going to take a while to shake through all of that. But then the hybrid. I've got the other grandson, 6th grade, he's a hybrid, which Chris Cuomo on CNN calls a monster idea, particularly for parents, because the children are still exposed to all the problems germ-wise that we went to remote for, yet at home the parents still have to figure out how to do remote. So they're sort of getting the worst of both worlds. In the hybrid, yes, they get some interaction, but they're also getting exposed. They may get quarantined. The COVID is having a real impact on these particularly younger kids' educations, if it's all remote, if it's hybrid, or even if it's in person, because it's such a different experience.